Good evening. Welcome to SFCommonSense. This evening, we are going to be discussing the First Amendment. For tonight, we're going to introduce ourselves and then I will read the First Amendment. I am Paula Fiscal of the Paula Fiscal Show. It airs on Sundays at 3 o'clock p.m. on Channel 29. I also upload to YouTube. My motto is keeping you informed.
Hi, my name is Sonny Francis, and I am the host of the Domino Theory television program, which is aired on the cable access channels 29 and 76 over the past 6 years. And we cover basically the African American community, and we hope to reach out to the community at large. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Phyllis Bowie, and I am new, obviously. um, the show that I will be producing is Save Midtown. It's about saving affordable housing in San Francisco. I'm so excited. Don't have the date and time yet, but it's coming soon.
Great. I like that.
Forward to it.
Yes. Hi, I'm Carl Bryant. The name of my program is Union Buzz. And you can reach Union Buzz at unionbuzz.com, Facebook, um, Twitter, and Instagram, or you can blog. Okay. Anyway, my program is the first and third Friday of every month. It starts at 6. If I don't have a guest, it's live, and you can call in from 6 to 6:22. And if we have a guest, it's live, and you still can call in, and we go to 6:52. So it's on channel 76 here at Bayvac, and also channel 29. Thank you.
Hello, I am Jennifer Glee, and my shirt says dream because you know what? I really haven't had a very happy dream in a while. So I want to encourage everyone to dream. And I have a show. It's called Planet Glee. It's been on since November of 2007. Before that, I was on the Bro Judd on Love Energy show, which we are going to bring back to cable access. And that's going to be really cool because it was a show about love energy. And I think even though Judd passed in 2009, we need him. I miss him so bad. I really do. And you can find Jennifer Glee on Tumblr. You can find me on Twitter and Planet Glee and Jennifer Glee on Facebook. And on YouTube, go to Jennifer Glee, I think. I got like 3 channels there, so I'm trying to figure out what's going on with that. But Planet Glee is live the 2nd and 3rd Wednesday of the month. And guests will be usually musicians, and just had a photographer on who was outstanding the other night. So look for her. She's from Thailand. My show is very international as well. I try to reach out to French-speaking Africa, for example, and because I speak French. And yeah, but I reach out to everyone.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
And so, as I said earlier, this is SFCommonSense. If you'd like to tweet us, our handle is at #SFCommonSense. This evening, we're going to discuss the First Amendment. So for those viewers and for ourselves, I'm going to read the First Amendment so that we can begin discussion. The First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. What do you think is the most important thing about this? Shall we start with you, Sonny?
Yeah, you might well start with me. I think that each individual should be entitled to voice his opinion. I don't think that you should voice your opinion when it hurts others. And when I say hurt, I mean not necessarily financially, but maybe emotionally or whatever. But anyway, that should be restricted. And I know we have anti-censorship laws and what have you, but we need to take a closer look at what we say and how we put it out there, because once it's out there, it is out there.
How about you, Phil?
First Amendment right. Because I believe in speaking, and I have strong opinions about speaking, I think that it's one of the most important amendments that we have. I will also concur with what you said. It's unfortunate and fortunate that we have an amendment in a law, but really it should just be the consideration of every human being. I'm glad that we have a law, but I really want to get to a point where our society respects each other, and it's not nitpicky about what word or whatever. What's the intent of what you're saying? Because a lot of times on television, an announcer might slip and say something, and then they're fired. I mean, I think there's a line between when you're having a conversation and what the intent is of what you said versus going by the law and saying, oh, you're never supposed to say that word. So it gets kind of tricky, but I am so happy that we do have that amendment.
Carl.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I agree with Sonny and Phyllis. And you know, the First Amendment was our forefathers forefathers of the United States who came up with the First
Thank you.
Amendment, not our forefathers, because I was brought here unwillingly.
Kidnapped, I call it kidnapped.
Oh, kidnapped? Well, kidnapped, brought here, whatever.
Stay focused,
Anyway.
though.
Sold.
Sold too.
Sold.
Sold too.
Captured
Anyway.
first, then sold.
Captured
Anyway.
and then sold. Anyway, the First Amendment rights allow us to participate in the society. For a number of years there, I'd say maybe 200-300, we weren't allowed to participate. I'm talking about me. I don't know about the rest of the audience out there, but I'm talking about me. We weren't allowed to participate, but now under the First Amendment, since it's being enforced and we're talking about it here today, we're allowed to talk about it. And I can say things that I want to say that maybe I couldn't say a few years ago. Like, I want to see as many young people on the corners as they need to converse, because that's their First Amendment rights. And the police have no right to stop them. And that's my opinion, and I can say it. Stop harassing young black males who decide to converse on a corner. And don't say it has to be 2 or more, or 3 or less than 3. Any amount of black youth can stop on any corner and say and converse if it's comfortable for them under the First Amendment. Am I right or wrong here?
So that is the most important thing about this for you.
That's right.
Jennifer, how about you?
Well, I definitely agree with Sonny on that one.
You Carl?
uh,
I'm Carl.
Carl, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Anyway, you know, I'm a space and I'm weird, and that's okay. And you know, Planically is about that. You know, you what some people may think is weird, in other parts of this country, and I'm not going to make a comment on this country, but I'm going to say that First Amendment right. In this country doesn't mean anything, because most of the media is pre-taped, and only like public access television, like say for example Democracy Now! Is giving us a bit of they just put on this week a man that I would vote for president, who is trying to put through a bill to end the all major political um, federal positions, not allowing them to be bought.
Jennifer, I actually disagree with you. I think the First Amendment right does mean something in this country. I think you kind of deviated a little bit when you talked about mainstream media. But here in 2015, we have additions to the mainstream pre recorded, as you said. A lot of the shows are live, but I understand what you're saying, edited, paid for, whatever. But in 2015, we have other alternatives, like you mentioned, which are taking advantage of the First Amendment right. So I think it is a strong thing in this country, and as a community, and especially in this 21st century, I think we are the forefounders, and we spearhead the First Amendment right and being able to say whatever we want to say about anything without fear of being incarcerated or about fear of having some kind
Thank
of
you,
consequence.
Phyllis. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to go into the next
Okay.
question
Thank
now.
you, Phyllis.
As a citizen, what information do you want to know? What information do you want to know that media isn't covering? I'm going to answer that question. I believe that the media does not cover enough about our communities. As a Latina woman, I would like to see more of the mainstream covering media activities within our communities. We have art, we have culture, we have our young people doing amazing things and activities, and nobody's covering these activities. I think that is a topic that should be covered more. On mainstream television, there's plenty of religious activities, plenty of religious programs, and they're all on mainstream TV, albeit it's on unusual hours. But nevertheless, there is space to cover our communities. Would anyone else like to answer that question? As a citizen, what information do you want to know that media isn't covering?
I
Carl, maybe?
No,
If you don't mind, I will kind of piggyback to what you said, because why I even got involved with public access is to get my voice out there for my community in the Western Addition in San Francisco, predominantly African American, but really just a really big gumbo of immigrants and disabled and veterans. So we're just kind of a clump. And in the Western Addition in San Francisco, African Americans are a dying breed. So when you say what you'd like to see more is our community, I feel the same way. I had a conversation with somebody who said that, well, when I was talking about being an African American, I'd like to see more of that. And this person said, well, you should be inclusive of everybody. And my point is, in our fantasy world, it would be fantastic if mainstream had a balance and really was a true reflection of what the community looks like, and a voice from that, not just a community little 5-minute report on Channel 7, or which one's going to take the story, a community story or a fire, and the fire usually gets the story. So I'm agreeing with you, and I'm saying it's time to merge that equally into main media, and then also have our own African American type of media, Latino type of media, Native American. I still believe we should have that. I don't like this idea that we should all merge together. But if it's mainstream, it definitely should be a reflection of everybody. But I still feel it's strong for us to keep our culture and to have to also have our voices, even if the voices aren't about our community, just our voices about something else, eating healthy, whoever, whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Carl, I'm going to ask you a fresh question, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Do you feel that people understand their rights when it comes to voicing their opinion about the government?
I don't think they do, because a lot of people today don't use the Freedom of Information Act. Freedom of Information Act, which we're not talking about, is under the First Amendment. And anytime there's a question or a document or something that goes on in the news that is you want to find out about, and the government has something to do with it, you can write a letter to the government, and they have to write you back and inform you of whatever question you asked under the Freedom of Information Act. So I know a lot of people aren't aware of that, and they don't ask that question, but I ask it quite often. of every government official when I run into one. So they try to steer clear of me because I ask them. I say, under the Freedom of Information Act, can you tell me how you feel about Iran or about Afghanistan? And then they might say, well, that's a long subject. And I say, well, send it to me. Here's my email address.
Thank you,
So-
Carl.
Thank you.
And the next question is going to Miss Jennifer Glee. The election is coming up. How fair do you think press coverage has been so far? Are voters getting all the information they need to make the right decision?
No, they're not. And I just wanted to agree with you that I believe that there's not any Spanish spoken on this station. And I tried to have I actually had someone from Mexico, Alfonso Maya, come on my show, and we spoke in Spanish. And it never aired because it got lost.
Oh, what a shame.
But I
let's
agree
get-
with you that the Latino experience is not being represented on the station. I want to see that.
Thank you. I agree. But let's get back to the question that
About
you were asked.
about
the election.
mainstream. Well, first of all, Paula, I do not think that someone who does not have a university degree should be a politician. I don't know about it. It just seems to me that I don't even want to. I don't even want to give any more airspace to the Republican side. I can't.
Will you ask the
So
question
are
one more
the
time,
are
please?
the voters getting all the information they need to make the right decision?
No.
Sonny, why don't you answer that one too? Are the voters getting all the information they need to make the right decision about the election coming up?
Of
How
course
fair
not.
do you think
No,
press coverage has
no,
been so far?
No. You know, I've been around for a while, and I've been voting for longer than that. But elections aren't meant to be fair, and we just
That's
fool
not
ourselves.
true.
We just fool ourselves when we
should
put
be.
ourselves in that position to think that these are being run fairly. And I say that because of number one, campaign contributions. Mr. Donald Trump has more money than anybody that you can imagine. And the people that come out to see him, whether you want to admit it or not, are being compensated in some form or another to sit there and listen to this stuff that he's talking about. When you have a lot of money, you can get more campaign ads, you get more, you know what you get. You know, and I don't have to explain it to you. So, no, there's nothing fair about it, and there will never be anything fair about it because the people that are on the bottom aren't voters because we don't turn out, we sit and we complain about it, but it takes action and it takes people getting out there and doing things.
I can't,
Go
let me
ahead.
just piggyback on that
Sure.
because I think, you know, I alluded to it in the beginning about the First Amendment Act. I really believe it's up to us. You know, these are guidelines. These are things, you know, we could turn to the media and say, oh, they're not doing it. We can turn and say, we're not getting all the information. But let's just be honest. The average American relaxes at home, turns on the television while they're eating, and that's all that they get. So it's not so much the question of, you know, are they getting enough information? Are people even taking the time to seek out that information, or whatever's presented to you, you stop there because information's there. So part of my whole thing about this is the people you say kind of at the bottom, who are so many of the laws affect. That's where my passion comes in, even as far as the tenants that are in my building, is how do we get people encouraged to take care of themselves and ask the questions themselves, like you said. Some people don't even know you can just type a letter and get that question answered officially.
Sure.
So I'm putting the onus back on the community. I'm putting the onus back on people like you and me. And when we talk about the bottom people, they don't really vote. Well, why don't they? Let's look at that problem.
I-
Why
I-
don't
So
they?
I
that
like
moves
to
us
answer
into a
that.
brand new question, if you don't
Okay.
mind, so we can cover some more of the questions. When creating content and presenting information, was a segue into the information question, do you think it is important to include your own point of view or to remain unbiased?
We're saying the first part is that reporting to
Yes, sir.
news?
When creating content
Creating content.
and presenting information, we're all producers here.
Okay,
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think it is important to include your own point of view or to remain unbiased?
I'll take the first shot at that. I think that's very important. It's very important for people who are watching, who are viewers, to see and hear someone who creates content like we do on public access. Well, this is not public access. This is community access television. Public access is across the street. That's KQED. They're supposed to be public, but I beg to differ. Public television is supposed to be paid for by the government, and they are not supposed to be doing commercials. Yet they do commercials on KQED. So, let
For
me say that.
themselves. They're just for themselves.
That's right.
That's right.
Well, I don't-
Nonprofit. We just went through a class on access and what the rights were and what the rights weren't, and we're perfectly allowed to ask for donations for our own nonprofit.
Okay.
But,
KQ.
but that's okay. We're talking about your own point of view.
My own point of view.
And that's what you gave
That's
us.
right. I'm giving you my point of view
And you should
about KQED
remain-
and community access television,
Should
and I
you
say
remain
they're two different
unbiased?
things. I say that community access television. This is more public broadcast than KQED.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. I agree with that.
KQED is supposed to be paid for by the government. Your tax money is supposed to pay for KQED. Okay? And your tax money also pays for community access television.
And that's your own point of view.
That's
Let's
my
move on
view.
to the next
Am I
question.
next?
Wait, let's move on to the next question.
I'm
Miss
next.
Jennifer Glee wants to answer the next one. When is censorship appropriate?
Okay. When is censorship appropriate? That is a hard question. I feel that on my show, I generally have people on who are to the left, and so to answer your question, on Planet Glee, I have a part of my show that says Planet Glee does not forget, and the fact that so many people have died in the past couple of years from extreme violence on the part of people who are supposed to be serving the people, that I feel that that question is difficult, and I cannot do it the justice probably that I should be doing, because I don't watch mainstream television. I have
Well,
to
many-
say.
Okay.
Many
Go ahead.
people believe commercial media does not cover the issues that are relevant
Commercial
to
television.
local
yes.
communities.
Right.
How can public access TV fill the gaps that journalists might be missing? Carl.
We can cover that gap by having producers. We need more producers to come in the BAVAC, Bay Area Video Coalition, to come in here and produce programs like Jennifer, like Phyllis, like Sunny, like Paula, and like myself. We produce programs here, and those programs come directly from the community because we are involved in the community, and what we come on and we bring on our programs is about the community. And BAVAC or San Francisco Commons allows us to do that. Not KQED, but San Francisco Commons over here, BAVAC, Community Access Television. Thank you.
Well, the next question is, how have you seen public access TV change over the years here in San Francisco. And for this one, I'm going to let Sonny answer because he's been here quite a while and he can tell us some of the changes he's seen.
Yes.
Well, for one thing, we've moved to a much smaller facility. We have more, I think, diversity of producers. We have more various content. And a statement was made earlier that we don't have any Spanish programs on our station. Well, that's not to say that we can't or we shouldn't. I think that Paula is an excellent example of a Spanish-speaking person that could facilitate such a show. And I am very pro people speaking their native languages. And when I say native, I mean native to their country or wherever they come from. I think that all Oriental children, Chinese children, should learn how to speak Chinese, Cantonese, and whatever it is, the other one
Mandarin.
is. Yeah.
Mandarin.
And I think that all Spanish-speaking people should speak, but they don't. And I think that's a travesty. So to get back to your question,
How
I
has
have
it
seen
changed?
it change just in the sense of having more people come in and more women for sure, and just bringing in different programs. So that's a great thing.
And the other one that's been here a long time is Mr. Carl.
Yes, I have. I've been here a long time,
You've
and
seen it
I've seen
change.
a lot of changes. Sonny, when you say there was not a lot of diversity in the programming, years ago, when we were on Folsom over at San Francisco, at the University of San Francisco, not the University of San Francisco, UCSF, yeah, University of California, San Francisco, on the 5th floor. We were
remember it.
very diverse. We had nudity. We had
Judd?
We had we had Judd. We had a lot of controversial programming. That was maybe about 10 years ago, though. Maybe 15, huh?
Yeah.
Maybe 15 years ago. On the 5th floor,
Right.
we had nudity. We had snuff programming, and they ran this guy out of San Francisco. He produced some snuff videos, and he put them on, and they were edited, and they wouldn't go out, and they ran him out of San Francisco. He left the city.
Was there
'Cause-
any
Okay.
transgender programs?
Yes, there was. There was also transgender programming. We had a lot of Spanish or Latin programming. I think what has happened since we moved from Market Street to here, first we were at 15th and Folsom, then Market Street, then here. What has happened is the number of producers has dwindled because we had a number of producers. We had, I don't know, maybe 100, 200 producers at that time. So, I it's
Is it a money
Is-
issue? You think? Is that something there, a money issue?
you brought up a point that that came about on Market Street. On Market Street, that was one of the things that was brought up, that money had something to do with us moving from Market Street to Bayvac, because the city had appropriated a lot of funds for us to be in Market Street, but
Is it over?
things happened and that money wasn't flowing to the producers.
Got
to
it,
produce
got it.
programs.
Thank you so much
Okay.
for joining the SF Common Sense program. We welcome your opinions and your viewpoints, and please feel free to use the Twitter accounts and the Instagrams and the Facebook pages at SF Commons, and Twitter is at SF Commons, and the Instagram is at SF Common TV.
That's right.
So thank you very much. My show airs on Sundays at 3 o'clock p.m., keeping you informed. And our next producer is?
Yeah, I'm Sonny Francis, the Domino Theory television program. I'd like to thank you once again for tuning in Common Sense. And I want to thank my fellow hosts here, Jennifer, Carl, Phyllis, who's brand new, and also Paula, who's been a wonderful host. We'd like to thank Ann Simmons and her crew for putting us on and making us look good. Thank you, and God bless you all.
And I'm Phyllis Bowie, and I want to say, if you were like me angry, frustrated, have your own opinion, get off your sofa, like I did, come down here and put it on the air. Make it happen. You do something to make it happen. Phyllis Bowie, Save Midtown, coming soon. Thank you.
I like that. Carl Bryant, Union Buzz, unionbuzz.com. You can reach me on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and I have a blog also. So I also like to thank all of the producers that are here who given up their time to produce Common Sense. And I think it's a great filter, not a filter, but for people in the audience or the viewers to see really what's going on at San Francisco Commons. And BAVAC. Remember, BAVAC. BAVAC is the one. And San Francisco Commons is a part of that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm Jennifer from Planet Glee, and I think I chose Planet Glee because it's like a metaphor for the universe. When people come in here, they're like on Planet Glee. And I also do Vedic astrology, which is Indian astrology. So you can always ask me that question too. But mainly, I'm on Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, Planet Glee, and Jennifer Glee. And I would love to hear from you. And tell me what music you want to see. You know, I mainly have musicians on the show. Originally, we were going to call it Jammin' with Jennifer, because I came from the Brojo on Love Energy show, and I used to play in the band on that show. But now I have like all sorts of artists, but all sorts of people. And you don't have, everybody's an artist to me. So come on Planet Glee, let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you.